serious charge has now been made by the Congress that this scheme was cleared and or was pushed by the political leadership. It was not really the scheme of the military chiefs or the 3 service chiefs. Aparajita, you want to respond? Because we keep hearing this, that whether it's bureaucrats in this government or whether it's the military, whether it is senior officers, it's the political leadership, the PMO that decides.
I'm really shocked to hear the words of Mr. Uttam Kumar Reddy ji. So the fact remains that we are putting a question mark on the ability of the service chiefs to give the right kind of opinion. They would never compromise with national security. They are in charge of national security. They would be given the right, they would be giving the right kind of opinion. So for heaven's sake, don't doubt their ability or don't doubt their integrity.
Okay.
This is extremely bad for all of us. See, here there is a scheme which is in line with the scheme of different countries. Most of the countries have this short-term enlistment system for a young and agile army. We want a young and agile army. This scheme is for the country.
Okay.
2 years of consultations and deliberations have taken place, and now the Union Cabinet has approved. We are flexible. We are giving it a try, and already there is one tweaking.
Many would have said if you are giving it a try, you should have started with a pilot project before you bring in a scheme. No, just a minute. No, 1 minute. Let Jasmine Shah, he's been waiting patiently because the Aam Aadmi Party has taken an even more dramatic stand saying scrap the entire scheme. Is that what you all are suggesting? Jasmine Shah, scrap an entire scheme. As Aparajita says, there are some countries which have successfully implemented it. Now, India is not Israel. And it's, you know, the Indian army, the Indian society with lakhs of people dependent on the army as a way of life. Do you believe that the scheme should be scrapped?
Rajdeep, I'll make it clear, the Aam Aadmi Party is completely and uncategorically in the favor of scrapping the scheme, rolling back the scheme. And why do I say that? This scheme ridicules the youth of these nations. It ridicules the valor and the commitment that the armed forces show to this nation, and it also ridicules the democracy of this nation. And give me just a few seconds to explain why. You know, the youth of this nation prepare for years. You know, there are youth who dream of being in the armed forces since they're very young. They prepare for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years to get into the armed forces. And what do they hear? That for 3 years that they prepare, they'll get only a service for 4 years, and at 21 years, they are going to be retired. I mean, what kind of a joke are you playing on the youth of this nation at the time when the armed forces actually needs the energy and the commitment of a youth?
No, but the government says we are making this an all-India. No, government says we are making this an all-India scheme. At 21, they are saying instead of a pension, you'll get 11 lakhs, and you have all the opportunities then to go into the wider world. The 75%
no, but
who
what
don't
about
continue.
The youth? I said, Rajdeep, that youth are preparing for years. They dream and they want to commit their lives to the armed forces and to the security of the nation. You are playing with that emotion. No country does that. Second, you are also ridiculing the commitment that it takes to serve in the armed forces. You know, it's the notion that these are your fellow brothers, these are the fellow people who are going to serve, and that is what makes you serve for the country in temperatures as low as -20 or as high as 50-55 degrees centigrade. You know that you are here in this for life. Are you ridiculing that this kind of commitment is not going to come? By playing all these
So you
tactics?
want nothing to change. You want us to continue the same scheme. You're saying don't
Absolutely
make any
not.
changes. You want the same system of recruitment.
Rajdeep, nobody should be in the favor of status quo. Every institution, every organization should be upgraded. We have always said that Indian military needs to be technologically advanced, agile, and you know, we should be seen as one of the top armed forces in the world. But under the garb of reform, you can't take 5 steps back, ridicule the youth, ridicule the armed forces, and ridicule the democracy in the manner in which, the stealth manner in which you introduce this reform. Rajiv, this reminds us of the farmer protest. 700 farmers had to die before this government could listen to their voices.
No,
are you saying that Are you saying that until a few youth commit some kind of action or unsavory action, only then you are willing to hear such a big reform which has not happened for decades? You're not even willing to talk to the people of this nation. But
but the question is who? No, 1 minute. The question is who are the stakeholders? Are they the youth who are protesting, or are they the service chiefs who themselves have spent years, decades in the armed forces? You know, who is the government to speak to? According to Aparajita, all the armed service chiefs, and they've clearly come on record as saying they are on board. Before I return to you, Aparajita, on the points that have been made, I just want to come
to that, Rajdeep. I would like to respond to that quickly.
No, very quickly. Yes, go ahead.
Very quickly. Let us not forget we are a democracy. Like the bureaucracy and people in the government have to be consulted, no government can say that I will not consult the people of this country on the reform.
You can't have a referendum now on every issue and go to the people.
Not a referendum. Why do you have the parliament? Shut down the parliament. Why do you have the state assembly? Shut down the state assembly. You made a budget speech that lasts for 2 hours. For 2 minutes, you couldn't speak about this reform in the budget speech just a few months back.
Okay.
Whom are you ridiculing this? You know, the fact that you don't want any conversation, you will announce big bang reforms, and then people will have to, give strikes, protest. Some of them will have to commit suicide. Only then will this government listen.
Okay.
Is this how democracy ought to run?